Hello. Today I want to talk about scam which is not new, but which seems to be very popular these days. It is about scam from girls who pretend they live on occupied territories of Donetsk and Lugansk and who ask money from foreign men for evacuation. Actually, my friend Alex from OdessaTransfers.com asked me a long time ago to record such video, and I had several consultations in previous weeks with foreign men who are desperate to move their so-called girlfriends out of Donetsk, Lugansk, and suburbs of those cities. After many stories from my friend Alex from OdessaTransfers.com and from some of my consultations, I understand that foreign men will get scammed for a very long period of time. I hope my video will help at least 100 or maybe even 1,000 men not to get into such scam trap. And paradox of this scam is that many men do not even want to think, especially older men who see a very beautiful young Ukrainian lady, who communicates with her through an online chat, maybe even through WhatsApp on video, and who imagines how he helps her to evacuate by taxi from Donetsk or from Lugansk, get by taxi from Donetsk to either Dnipro or maybe even to Kiev, to Odessa, to Lviv. Some men want to evacuate those girls straight to Poland. Probably they imagine that girl gets from Donetsk to Kiev by taxi, then gets from Kiev to Warsaw by taxi, then he buys her an airline ticket, she flies to him, and that girl, once she arrives to that man, will be thankful to her savior until the rest of her life. And I think the imagination of such men runs very wild. Anyway, please make sure you like this video if you find this information useful and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. I have a lot of info about scam and will be adding more videos in the future, of course. As I said earlier, many men will be willing to send money to girls who claim they live in Donetsk or Lugansk for taxi from Donetsk to either Kiev, Lviv, or even to pay for taxi from Donetsk all the way to Poland or to Hungary. And that's quite a lot of money. And why do I say that girls who claim they live in Donetsk or Lugansk? Because in reality they don't. They live somewhere in Kiev, Odessa, western part of Ukraine, or even in Europe. Because it is impossible to live in Donetsk and Lugansk now. I have a video about life in Donetsk and Lugansk. You can watch it after you watch this video, and link to this video will be in the description to this video. What exactly you have to know at this point, and stick it in your head, that it is absolutely impossible to travel from Donetsk or from Lugansk, from Mariupol, from Berdyansk by taxi to Ukraine. There is just no way to do that. Absolutely impossible. But these girls, of course, claim that taxi drivers would surely take them from Donetsk to Kiev for a price of about $500 US. And they ask you for that amount of money. It is something like in 1945 somebody would ask you to pay some money for someone to travel from Berlin to Paris. It's real war in Ukraine. There are tanks, artillery, snipers who would shoot absolutely anything that moves from that occupied part of Ukraine. Additionally, there are minefields all over the place, drones that fly there all the time, 24/7 from both sides. And how would you imagine a taxi going, for example, from Donetsk through that war zone, crossing the war line and taking that girl straight into Kiev? That's ridiculous. Because you never know if taxi is bringing some girl or some terrorists through that war line. It would be shot immediately and nobody would be even let into that place. No way. Also, there is absolutely no way to hire some guide who would lead that girl, that your girlfriend, through forests and bushes in that area. No way. Are you laughing? I was laughing, I was really laughing. I had a consultation with an Austrian guy who was about 65 years old. He booked a minimal consultation, which is 30 minutes. We talked to him for an hour longer. He agreed to pay it for that hour. He wanted to hire a guide to lead that girl, his girlfriend, who was 23 or 24 years old, through those forests from a temporarily occupied area of Ukraine to a non-occupied area of Ukraine. And when I told him that it is just impossible to find such guide, he said that he would come himself, hire some minivan who would take him to as close as possible to the war zone. Then he would cross by feet through forests and find that girl somewhere in Donetsk and will lead her back into a non-occupied part of Ukraine. That was really funny, but some men really think of that. Maybe they think they're some kind of Rambos, or maybe they watch too much TV, I don't know.
I could have killed them all. I could have killed you. In town, you're the law. Out here, it's me. Don't push it. Don't push it, I'll give you a war you won't believe. Let it go. Let it go.
Man didn't even want to believe that his so-called girlfriend did not live in Donetsk. She lived somewhere in Kiev, maybe in Lviv, or maybe even in neighbor country Germany. He sent her 400 euros, but she lost that money somehow on the way from bank, because it was some kind of icy weather, so she just fell on the ground and money were just gone. And of course it is not true, because in Donetsk there are no banks and no way you can receive international transactions in that area. No way. And since there is absolutely no way to receive money in those territories, I hear this question from many men: how do they receive money? Because they send like Western Union or MoneyGram transaction, and transaction is getting through, it is being received. So how does that happen? And answer is very simple. Girl is registered as temporarily moved person from that temporarily occupied territory. And she lives somewhere in Kiev, in Odessa, in Dnipro, in Lviv, or maybe even abroad. And in such case, but well, she has to be registered. If she lives in Donetsk and in Lugansk, if she lived there, she must be registered on a non-occupied territory. Only in such case she has access to Ukrainian bank, and there is no other way. So she moved out from Donetsk or from Lugansk, she has a Ukrainian bank account, and she can receive your transactions without any problems, even remotely, through an online bank. She just logs on to her online bank account and she gets your transaction without any problems. If it is Western Union, MoneyGram, RIA, and so on and so on. And in such way they say that they received money and then they will come to you by taxi from Donetsk to Kiev and then maybe to Poland, to Moldova, to Hungary, to Slovakia, and maybe even to Germany. But according to my information, about 90% of those scammers who claim they live in Donetsk and in Lugansk have never even visited those areas. So they live happily in Kiev, Odessa, Lviv, maybe abroad, and just asking money from men. That's it. So what will happen after you believe such fairy tale and send money to your girlfriend? In 50% of cases, it would be a beginner scammer and she will receive money almost instantly. You will see that transaction has been received and she will disappear. So you will never ever hear from her ever again. More experienced scammers will tell you something that she has been robbed on the way from bank or maybe on the way from Donetsk to Kiev, and money disappeared, so she had to come back to Donetsk, and that she gave all her savings that she had just to pay that taxi because your money was lost, and will try to get more money from you. So if you sent like 5, 6 or 700 US dollars or euros, she will ask you for maybe 1,000 euros or dollars more. And if you send money for the second time, of course, after second transactions, which will be received instantly, she will disappear. More experienced scammers, or with so-called jackpot sugar daddies, this can work 3 times. So some men would believe her still, and maybe if the girl is very, very beautiful, if the man is old, if man is like 65 or 70 years old, and if he has real desires towards these girls, so maybe he will believe her and will send her for the third time another 1,000 euros or dollars. And then girl will disappear, so you will never hear from her ever again. So what advice can be given to those men who send money to those girls, or who are willing to send money to get her out from Donetsk or Lugansk by taxi? So you can go to your local gym and exercise your arms pretty nicely, because as we say, if you bought some kind of Viagra and waiting for those girls to come to you, you will need very strong arms. You understand for what those arms will be needed. Your so-called girlfriend will never come to you. Never ever. To conclude this video, there is no way to get from Donetsk or Lugansk to non-occupied territory of Ukraine. There is just no way. Well, it is possible. She would have to go through Russia to either Kazakhstan or to Georgia, and from there she would have to fly maybe to Istanbul, and from Istanbul maybe fly further. But such way would cost several thousand US dollars. Of course, she may be telling you about such possibility, but I don't think many men would be willing to send something like $5,000 to a girl just to come to their hometown. If some men are willing to spend such amounts of money, they are really fools, and fools must be scammed. And of course, girl will never come to them in any way. If you have questions about how taxi works from areas that are non-occupied and those who are close to a war zone, you can ask Alex, my very good friend from OdessaTransfers.com. And those of you who need my personal assistance, help or advice, you can email me at my email address, and I always glad to help those people who really need help. Don't forget to like this video if you found this information useful, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and ask questions in comments to this video. As usual, I wish you all good luck, joy, happiness, tranquility, and of course, stay healthy and wealthy.